Marine biologist Jessica Radcliffe discovered SeaWorld's darkest secrets about whale captivity. 3 days later, she was killed by a 6-ton orca in what the park called an accident. But Jessica's death wasn't random. It was murder, disguised as an animal attack. Welcome back to Crime Secrets, where we expose the conspiracies that reach the highest levels of corporate America. Today's case isn't just about a tragic accident. It's about how a multi-billion-dollar entertainment empire silenced a whistleblower who threatened to expose their darkest secrets. This is the story of Jessica Radcliffe, the marine biologist who discovered the truth about orca captivity and the lengths Pacific Marine World went to keep her quiet forever. What you're about to hear will make you question every animal show you've ever watched. Dr. Jessica Marie Radcliffe was born on September 12, 1982 in coastal Maine. From childhood, she was fascinated by marine life, spending summers studying tide pools and volunteering at local aquariums. Her passion led her to pursue a PhD in marine biology from the University of California, San Diego, where she specialized in cetacean behavior and intelligence. Jessica's doctoral thesis focused on the psychological impact of captivity on killer whales, research that put her at odds with the marine entertainment industry from the beginning. Her findings suggested that orcas in captivity exhibited severe psychological distress, including self-harm behaviors and shortened lifespans that were significantly below their wild counterparts. After graduation in 2008, Jessica struggled to find research positions because her work was considered controversial by institutions with ties to marine parks. However, in January 2010, she was offered what seemed like a dream job: senior marine biologist at Pacific Marine World, one of the largest marine entertainment facilities on the West Coast. What Jessica didn't know was that Pacific Marine World hadn't hired her to conduct research. They had hired her to control it. The park was facing increasing scrutiny from animal rights groups and federal regulators. By bringing a respected scientist like Jessica onto their team, they hoped to legitimize their practices and deflect criticism. Within weeks of starting at Pacific Marine World, Jessica realized she had made a terrible mistake. The facility was everything she had suspected and worse. Orcas were kept in tanks barely larger than swimming pools, forced to perform multiple shows daily, and subjected to psychological conditioning techniques that bordered on torture. Jessica's access to the facility's records revealed shocking information. Orcas at Pacific Marine World had a mortality rate 3 times higher than the industry average. The park had covered up multiple incidents of trainer injuries and had been systematically falsifying veterinary reports to hide evidence of animal abuse. Most disturbing was what Jessica discovered about Kasatka, the park's star performer. The 6-ton female orca had been captured as a calf in 1978 and had spent over 30 years in captivity. Internal veterinary reports showed that Kasatka was suffering from severe psychological trauma, exhibiting self-destructive behaviors and unpredictable aggression that the park had concealed from both staff and the public. Jessica learned that Kasatka had been involved in 3 previous incidents involving trainers, each more serious than the last. In 2006, she had grabbed trainer Ken Peters and held him underwater for nearly a minute. In 2008, she had slammed another trainer against the tank wall, causing internal injuries that required hospitalization. Each time, Pacific Marine World had covered up the incidents and continued using Kasatka in shows. By March 2010, Jessica had documented enough evidence to expose Pacific Marine World's systematic abuse of marine animals. She had secretly copied veterinary records, safety reports, and internal communications that proved the park was knowingly endangering both animals and human staff for profit. Jessica's plan was to present her findings at the upcoming Marine Mammal Science Conference in San Diego, where her presentation would be attended by federal regulators, animal welfare advocates, and media representatives. She had already submitted her abstract and had been scheduled for a prime speaking slot on March 18th. However, Jessica made a crucial mistake. On March 12th, she confided in Dr. Richard Hayes, Pacific Marine World's head veterinarian, believing he would support her efforts to improve animal welfare. Dr. Hayes had always seemed sympathetic to Jessica's concerns and had even provided her with some of the documents she planned to use in her presentation. What Jessica didn't know was that Dr. Hayes was reporting directly to Pacific Marine World's corporate leadership. Within hours of Jessica's confession, park executives knew exactly what she planned to reveal and how much evidence she had gathered. On March 15, 2010, just 3 days before Jessica's scheduled presentation, Dr. Hayes approached her with what he claimed was an urgent research opportunity. He told Jessica that Kasatka had been exhibiting unusual behaviors and that they needed immediate behavioral assessment data for an upcoming federal inspection. Dr. Hayes explained that the assessment needed to be conducted during off hours to avoid disrupting the park's show schedule. He suggested that Jessica work with Kasatka alone in the main performance tank early Tuesday morning before the park opened to the public. This would give her uninterrupted access to observe and document the orca's behavior. Jessica was reluctant to work alone with Kasatka, given what she knew about the orca's history of aggression. However, Dr. Hayes assured her that Kasatka was having a good week and that the session would be closely monitored from the observation deck. He also mentioned that the data would be crucial for Jessica's upcoming presentation, appealing to her scientific dedication. What Jessica didn't know was that Dr. Hayes was setting a trap. The urgent assessment was a fabrication designed to get Jessica alone with the most dangerous animal in the facility. Park executives had calculated that an accident involving Kasatka would not only silence Jessica permanently, but would also discredit her research by making her appear reckless and unprofessional. Jessica arrived at Pacific Marine World at 6 a.m. on March 16, 2010. The park was eerily quiet, with only essential maintenance staff present. Dr. Hayes met her at the main entrance and walked her to the Shamu Stadium, where Kasatka was waiting in the performance tank. Security footage later revealed that Dr. Hayes left Jessica alone with Kasatka at approximately 6:30 a.m. This was the last time Jessica was seen alive by another human being. What happened next was captured by the park's security cameras, but the footage would mysteriously disappear within hours of Jessica's death. According to the official report, Jessica entered the water with Kasatka at 6:45 a.m. for what was supposed to be a routine behavioral observation session. Witnesses claimed that everything appeared normal for the first 30 minutes. Jessica was conducting standard interaction protocols, taking notes, and monitoring Kasatka's responses. However, at approximately 7:15 a.m., something went wrong. Kasatka suddenly grabbed Jessica by the waist and dragged her to the bottom of the 40-foot deep tank. The orca held Jessica underwater for nearly 4 minutes before releasing her lifeless body. By the time emergency responders arrived, Dr. Jessica Radcliffe was dead. Within minutes of Jessica's death, Pacific Marine World's crisis management team swung into action. The park was immediately closed to the public, and all staff members were ordered to sign non-disclosure agreements before being sent home. The security footage from Shamu Stadium was confiscated by park security and later claimed to have been accidentally corrupted. Dr. Hayes provided the official account of Jessica's death to investigators, claiming that she had violated safety protocols by entering the water alone with Kasatka. He suggested that Jessica's inexperience with the facility's specific procedures had led to the fatal accident. This narrative was supported by other park employees who had been coached on what to say to investigators. The Orange County Sheriff's Department initially treated Jessica's death as a workplace accident. The investigating officers had no experience with marine animal incidents and relied heavily on Pacific Marine World staff for technical expertise. When Dr. Hayes and other park officials insisted that the death was an unfortunate but predictable result of human error, the investigation was quickly closed. However, Jessica's research partner, Dr. Sarah Chen from UC San Diego, wasn't satisfied with the official explanation. Dr. Chen knew about Jessica's research and her planned presentation. She also knew that Jessica was an experienced marine biologist who would never have violated basic safety protocols. Dr. Chen's investigation revealed disturbing inconsistencies in Pacific Marine World's account of Jessica's death. She discovered that the urgent behavioral assessment, Dr. Hayes had described was not mentioned in any official park documents. There was no record of federal inspectors requesting the data, and no evidence that Kasatka had been exhibiting the unusual behaviors that supposedly prompted the assessment. Most damaging was Dr. Chen's discovery of Jessica's research files, which he had hidden in a safety deposit box. The documents contained explosive evidence of Pacific Marine World's cover-up of animal abuse, trainer injuries, and regulatory violations. The research Jessica planned to present would have triggered federal investigations that could have shut down the facility permanently. Dr. Chen also uncovered evidence that Pacific Marine World had a history of silencing critics through intimidation and legal threats. 3 other researchers who had attempted to study conditions at the facility had been forced to abandon their work after the park filed frivolous lawsuits against their institutions. Armed with Jessica's research, Dr. Chen took her evidence to federal authorities and animal welfare organizations. The resulting investigation led to the closure of Pacific Marine World in 2013 and criminal charges against several park executives, including Dr. Hayes, who was convicted of obstruction of justice and served 2 years in federal prison. Jessica's death sparked nationwide reforms in marine animal captivity regulations and contributed to the eventual phase-out of orca shows at major marine parks. Her research, published posthumously, became a landmark study in cetacean welfare and helped establish new standards for marine animal care. But for Jessica's family, no amount of reform could bring back their daughter, sister, and brilliant scientist who died because she dared to speak truth to power. Jessica Radcliffe's story reminds us that sometimes the most dangerous predators aren't the animals in the tanks. They're the executives in the boardrooms who will kill to protect their profits. If this case shocked you as much as it shocked us, please subscribe to Crime Secrets for more investigations into corporate conspiracies and institutional cover-ups. Because the truth is always more dangerous than fiction.